You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a more modern approach to selling, the application of virtual and hybrid selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Rachel Shee. Rachel, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Fred.
Now, so Rachel, you're a consultant, coach, and of course a sales professional who specializes in helping salespeople win more by becoming the best version of themselves. And this is what I like, and this is why I want to talk to you, because you've done this in so many kind of different but the same ways, if that makes sense. So one of the things that when we had a little chat before about was the way you seem to do this is by helping people get more modern, get more up to date. And kind of technology seems to be a common theme. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So, I can go a little bit into my background, but main industry that I've been in as I've been in sales is in the SaaS or the software as a service industry. So tech has been a natural extension of that, and has definitely informed the way that I've gone to market, the way I've helped peers who have worked in other companies, other industries. So yeah, really excited to share some of those tips and tricks today.
Sure. So, I mean, let's go back. And that's why I didn't do the full intro, because it's too good just to blast out all at the beginning. I want to kind of go through bit by bit, and I want to eke out every little story, because I know there's good ones from each. So in one of the roles, you were the first rep at a professional services firm. Yeah. So how did that go? Explain who that was and what you did, and then we'll get the learnings, the stuff that came from that.
Sure. So yeah, that was I was an account executive at an accessibility startup here in Toronto, where I'm based. So this was my second tech sales job. So I had a little bit of background already at a big social media management company, Hootsuite, prior to that. So that kind of gave me my baseline, and got the offer to join this startup as one of their SaaS AEs. And it was a super exciting opportunity. At the time, it combined two things that I really enjoyed. Sales, number one, and number two, the ability to make some kind of a social impact, which was really the product that we were selling at the time, which is sort of an accessibility as a service type of solution, as they called it. So that was really probably one of the most formative sales gigs that I've ever had the opportunity to work with some of the biggest brands of the world, Sephora, Whole Foods, Nike, up-leveled my own understanding of the profession immensely there, but it didn't come with its, without its difficulties. We were super small. We were like 10, 15 people at the time. It was a tiny little office in one of those grubby little, office buildings that, full of just dentists' office and law firms. You wouldn't even be able to tell, if this was, it was a tech hub or anything like that. But yeah, joined as one of the first AEs transitioning to that SaaS model, and eventually helped them get to their first 15 million Series A as part of that role.
Brilliant. And you definitely need to be taking some credit for that, I think. Well, as one of the first salespeople in there, of course you do. And so thinking about that then, because that kind of sounds, it's fun. I've got these funny pictures in my head. I've just been watching that series Startup. I think they're a little bit like that at the beginning. But there's no Haitian gangsters or anything involved in yours, I don't think. No. What would you say the biggest lessons that you took from there, just sort of generally as a person, and then kind of taking that into sales?
Yeah. So God, what didn't I learn there? It was like just under 2 years that I was there, but it felt like a lifetime, right? I saw so much. I saw the company explode in growth. I was put in situations where I was needing to up-level my game immensely, just in an everyday situation without any kind of formal training or onboarding, right? So it's a tiny little startup. I think the main lesson, to be honest, is the concept of resourcefulness. Again, kind of stemming from the fact that I didn't have any help just joining, right? We were tasked with going after all these big Fortune 500 companies. I was going after the C-suite, people in departments that I had never worked in before, CTOs, CDOs, CIOs. So people who I don't know, what these jobs are actually like. So,
Yeah.
here I was trying to go after them and convey enough value to, have them partner with our company. So the idea that I really had to be resourceful in my own learning outside to what the company was providing. And that was really where I started to use LinkedIn and social selling a little bit more, and we can go into that. But I saw an immense opportunity to start sharing some of those learnings in my own social networks, and what I was learning from customer conversations, articles, blogs that I was reading every single day. And as a result, I ended up becoming the number one rep there. I think in large part due to the fact that I was now seen as kind of this evangelist or thought leader in the accessibility space. Again, just due to the fact that I was super interested in it and took it upon myself to learn more about it.
So you were reading a lot of stuff, you were learning, because it sounds like you need to find out, well, how do you approach these people? How do you do this? How does LinkedIn work? But did I also pick up that you were also sharing stuff as well? You weren't just like going take. It was like, well, okay, that's pretty cool. There's probably other people like me, I'll give that back. Is that right?
100%.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there were instances where, I'm talking to head of product at Whole Foods and they have no idea what digital accessibility meant. Yeah. Right? Like they had their own piece of the pie at the company, and they knew they had to do it because of legal and compliance and customer experience oriented reasons. But to actually get a deep understanding of this was not part of their scope. So that was really the opportunity that I had to bring what I was learning, again, on an everyday basis, to become that trusted advisor to them. Accessibility is something that touches every part of every organization, but having that expertise in-house was still really rare when I was at the company. So again, I saw that, an opportunity to take it on myself to become that for them.
Yeah, no, that's cool. But I love that concept that the more that you give, actually, the more that you get back. Reminds me of a song we sing at school about the magic penny, that if you hold it, it doesn't do anything. If you give it away, it comes back with loads more. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it to you.
Damn it.
Damn it. No, we've only been talking for 5 minutes. I want a little bit longer before you run away. No, but that's really cool. But it also sounds as though at that stage of a business, it can be a little bit chaotic. I mean, how did you find that? Was that a good thing, bad thing? How do you deal with it?
Oh yeah. So try not to say anything that will get me in trouble, but we were a company that had been bootstrapped for like around about 10 years, professional service firm. Again, they were doing a lot of manual audits, consultant type of work before they decided to make the switch into the SaaS model and bring in expertise that would allow them to do that. But there were like 3 co-founders of the company. All of them had been doing this for a long time, and to go through that change management required, them to, really change the way that they thought about things. And, it was just a new experience for everybody involved. And there was a lot of managing up as part of my role, not only to the co-founders, but, we would hire in sort of VP sales or report to 3-4 different managers, during that short period of time, not only kind of sharing what I thought would be the best way to do things, but also educating about the industry, kind of, what had happened before. Like everything's just changing so quickly, and there's no real, this is how things were done before, to kind of inform future success. And that's a poor way to look at it anyway. So yeah, a lot of change, a lot of people, department changes, people changes, and also trying to keep the customer at the center of all this, as you know, is also difficult, pretending that none of this chaos is happening behind the scenes while, maintaining that good customer relationship. So
it sounds like brilliant training for now, because I mean, we're in this period of change, and the speed of change isn't getting any less, is it? And it's kind of like, well, I kind of not know how to deal with that. It's kind of a bit too arrogant, but so, well, I've experienced all this. I kind of got my head around how to adapt with that. So you mentioned social selling and using that there, and that'll probably have caught a few people's attention. So what kind of things did you start doing then that just started to help you?
Yeah, so I'd always had LinkedIn as just a staple in my tech stack, but it was mostly a consume type of thing, right? Like follow the sales influencers, follow industry experts, and consume.
Yeah.
And the more that I kind of sort of went along this journey, the more I realized, wow, this consume to create ratio is really off, right? And it's, I'm getting better. I'm learning a lot, but what value am I giving back to the world? So it was during that time at the startup where I started to make that shift, where it's like, you know what, I'm answering the same questions every day on these calls. Why don't I just start proactively putting some of this out there, right? And actually start pointing customers like, hey, I actually made a post about this, check this out. What it also did was start to build trust in the eyes of the prospects before they even got on the phone with me, right? I would connect with them on LinkedIn, say, hey, looking forward to connecting on Thursday to talk about X, Y, and Z. And they had the chance, it's kind of like you're your own marketing machine, because they get the chance to just read all your perspectives and your thoughts on the problem that they're trying to solve. And they're like, okay, well, okay, she knows at least something about what we're trying to do here. So, you're not kind of going through that break the ice moment when you're on the call, right? People already feel like they get to know you, deals get done a lot quicker. You can sort of move things along just, in a lot more efficient way.
Yeah. But it's such a cool way of doing that though, isn't it? I'm being asked this question all the time. So I'll record something or I'll write something, I'll do something answers, and I'll point people to it. And then when they look at it, they'll probably see the other half a dozen questions that they don't even realize they've got yet that I've answered for them already. So now when we do talk, they're thinking, wow, I don't know if I'm worthy of speaking to her. She's so good. Maybe, I don't know.
It's cool. You're kind of taking something that's a one-to-one interaction and just making a one-to-many. That's it. It's nothing special. Anyone can do it. And you're just scaling your efforts.
Anyone can do it, but I will challenge you on it's nothing special. I think at the moment it is pretty special because people don't do it. And they're missing a massive trick. They really are missing a trick. Is every day, if you're any kind of salesperson, you're getting a hint of a LinkedIn post, a video or something. I mean, I'm assuming you are talking to customers every day. I mean, that's the but yeah, they're going to ask you something. Okay, well, there must be other people asking me that. So no, that's really interesting takeaway people can have. And of course, I'm sort of talking about video here because I'm bound to talk about video as we're kind of going through your career and what you've learned, because that was a big part of what you've done as well, isn't it?
It's how we met.
It's how we met.
Program.
Yeah. Because I was looking at Vidyard, which is where you were as the partnership manager. And so, we had a sales call, and you'd start to use some of these things, which I was excited about having that call. We had a great call. We kept in touch. That's why we're here now. So, so for people who don't know, because I imagine, I don't think there's any people around who don't know what Vidyard is, but we've better just double check. What's Vidyard and what was your specific role there?
Sure. So Vidyard is a video technology platform that helps sellers reach more customers, close deals quicker, and really be there when you can't be there in person. It's kind of the tagline. And I was there in a partnerships capacity. So that was my first partnerships role. I'd done a little bit at the accessibility startup, which kind of helped me get over to a full-time partnerships role. And I was really brought on to build out our sales training channel from scratch. So because I had these 6 years of sales experience, already had the network, I knew who the trainers were, the coaches, the consultants, and the goal was really to build out this services moat around our product. This was like during the thick of COVID, right, where outside salespeople were no longer able to see their prospects and customers in person. So everyone was online, everyone was needing to figure out, okay, like what the hell do we do now? And the company was just taking off. Right. So the idea was building this ecosystem whereby, salespeople were consulting their consultant of record or trainer of record, being like, hey, like, what video platform should I use? Having Vidyard be that name. So I was coaching the coach, and it was, again, a huge formative moment in my career.
And how did that go? Loaded question, because I do know. I mean, you've got a pretty big success story with that, which I'd love you to share.
Oh yeah. So, I mean, still around, which is a good thing after I've left. But
you didn't crash the company. I didn't mean that.
Yeah, no, it's still standing to my understanding, but really had a lot of fun in that role. And, for me, as a big lover of just learning, right? And constantly educating myself in sales, best practices, tips and tricks. It seemed like a very natural fit for me to now go and build this channel that consisted of all these, best-in-class trainers and sellers, right? Of course, which you were one of them. That's why I had the conversation. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of fun. 63 partnerships, 9 figures in addressable revenue. Got some of the biggest trainers, enlisted the Sandlers, the Corporate Visions, the Rain Groups of the world, all the way to more of the smaller consultants, solopreneurs. Samantha McKenna, Jake Dunlap from Scaled. A lot of just people who are excellent at their craft and having Vidyard be their video technology of choice. And yeah, broke some records in terms of having the biggest services partnerships built there. Sandler was one, closed that from start to finish within 6 months, rolling all the way up to Dave Metzen, CEO, of course, of Sandler. I imagine people who listen to your podcast would know. And yeah, it was just a huge, I learned so much and I had so much fun, doing it. So happy to go into that a little bit more, but that was sort of the high level of it.
Yeah. So, why? So just to again to just have a tactical piece on this about using video and why that's so important, and then I'll go back into your learnings. And again, a bit like you just told us with LinkedIn, just do this stuff is dead simple. What was the core thing that you're getting these trainers to pass on? Why is video so good?
Well, the main thing is, these trainers were not able to see their customers in person anymore, right? Everything was over Zoom. People were getting Zoom fatigued. They weren't retaining the learnings that they were getting from their trainers. And obviously it was just becoming a, frustrating experience for everybody involved as they were trying to, figure out how to navigate this unprecedented time that we were all going through.
That was the catchphrase. How many emails did you get with that written on it?
Oh man, yeah, I stopped that, quite early on. But basically, yeah, there were the gist of it is the value of the platform was that it could be integrated at every stage of the sales process. And it's, again, not rocket science. You're basically turning a webcam on, making a quick video and sending it. So really, it was about just coaching the coach, teaching these trainers, people who were top of their game, been doing sales training for 20, 30 years, some longer than I'd been alive, and figure out just how to integrate video into that sales process. So whether it was for a prospecting sort of tactic, right? Reaching out to somebody on LinkedIn, putting a face to the name, showing them what your voice and sort of body language looks like, and building trust through digital means versus just sending, just cold text messages. All the way to sending maybe proposal videos, right? Where you're walking through the proposal, there's multiple stakeholders in the back end and you need to influence more than just the person that you've got on the phone, figuring out how to get strategic with video and equipping your champion to, sell your solution and internally and get it over the line. So lots of little tips and tricks that I had the opportunity to learn myself and just from my own sales experience, and then teach these sales trainers who you're really excited to figure out how to incorporate technology into what they're already doing.
We were, because from our point of view, it meant we're using it ourselves because we're selling, and we're able to pass it on to loads of people to help them get better at a time when they needed it, which is now forever. Forever, because it's not just that, it's not stopped. Sorry, we don't need that video anymore. No, it is part and parcel. And I know who you learn from, of course. I mean, I've had Tyler on the podcast, and so if you want to talk to somebody about this sort of stuff, get the guy who's written the book on it.
Yeah. No, the good thing was that I did have the chance to use it prior to Vidyard, which is how I got to Vidyard in the first place. So it was part of the tech stack at Hootsuite. We didn't have to use it back then as much, of course. COVID wasn't a thing. But as soon as COVID hit, it was like, okay, at least have a background understanding of this, and was able to leverage it.
This stuff works, and it's like you just said with the social selling thing. It's not difficult. It's not rocket science, but just by doing it, you are starting to set yourself apart. You really are.
It's true.
I think the speed of change, I've said for quite a long time, this will just be absolutely normal in 4 or 5 years' time. It'll probably be shorter than that, actually, but there's still first mover advantage with people. So,
and it's not just sales either, Fred. It's anything that requires just a human to human interaction. Here's a great example. I actually helped my partner get a job, his first job in tech sales.
Yep.
And a large part of the reason why he got this job was because he made a follow-up video walking through some of the some like his past experience and his thoughts on the interview process and some of the problems that they had and that he could solve. And he came from construction. He didn't even have any background in this. And yeah, he's behind me right now. So, they were like, this is amazing. Like, I can't believe that, we've never seen this before. We want you to come in and teach our other reps how to use video. So I'm just like, for the interview process, hiring, like anything, it's applicable.
It is, because it's, for me, one of the points I try and get across to people is, yes, it's the information contained within the video, which is now there and can be passed around and all that good stuff. But just by doing it, you're setting yourself apart a little bit. But if I advise someone to do it as part of an interview and they got the job, because the people just went, wow, we've never seen anything like that. So cool. You're thinking so far ahead.
It's
how
true.
long did it take to do? Oh, hours. Minutes.
Yeah, it's just about making yourself, differentiating yourself, decommoditizing yourself. I actually got my current job again through using video. I skipped about 3 parts of the interview process because my manager, he was like, I've never seen this before. This is an indication of what you can do for our customers as well. So little cheat code.
I'm going to cut this section out and sell it to recruitment today.
Sure.
But I love that expression. You decommoditize yourself. You've used it. You speed things up. You make things happen. It's like, oh, well, we don't need to see it. Or the 14 people that do have all seen it in the course of an afternoon because we just sent the video around. They were like, love it. Yeah. So are we allowed to talk about the current job yet?
Yeah, well, I haven't officially started, but happy to share as much as I can.
I will delay this. What day do you start?
Tomorrow officially. We've
oh, that's forward. Okay. Tomorrow officially. So that's fine. So can you tell us where are you going? What's this going to involve? What new tech basically are you now going after that's going to help us? Because there's a bit of a theme here, yeah?
For sure. So it's a company called Metadata. They're Colorado based, freshly Series B funded, growing like crazy. I think about 125 people right now. They like 700% x'd the size of their company in the last year. So definitely growing. I'm going to be joining as an AE. Don't know sort of the specific scope as of yet, but I've been talking to, we've been connected with my manager for a while on LinkedIn. And I had basically the story was I had a brief stint as a founder myself. And after ending that experience, I had the opportunity to sort of really reflect and sort of figure out, all right, where is it next that I want to go? And Danny, who again is going to be my new manager, we got along really, really well, been connected for a little bit. And yeah, it just sounds like an amazing opportunity. The platform itself, not to get too into the weeds, but basically it's going to automate a ton of tedious work for B2B marketers. So anyone who does paid campaigns on Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, you name it, just taking out sort of the admin side of it and leaving them to focus more on the strategy and creative. So really excited to get into it. I've been selling to marketers my entire career. So hopefully it works out.
Oh, I'm sure it will. Given track record. But again, I like following this this track where I'm just looking at the first job. You gave me a wonderful little line about that. I've lost it in notes. I've been writing so much stuff here. Then you talked about decommoditizing yourself. Now you're talking about eliminating tedious work. I mean, it's like people are going to come and talk to you, Rachel. You've got the answers there.
Fingers crossed.
I'm sure. But it's down to, is it a love of tech, or is it just understanding that tech is so important? I mean, tech is certainly the constant in there. What's the best way would you describe yourself around this?
Yeah, there's, I guess, the macro and the micro way of looking at it. Macro being, this is just the way the world is headed, right? Yeah. I'm sure there are people like sellers of all different industries and sort of backgrounds in your audience. And I do come from the tech bubble, the software service bubble. So I have the kind of first movers advantage, I guess, of being exposed to all of this tech. But even you can see in my last role at Vidyard, where I was working with these sales trainers, and these sales trainers, I'm telling you, they had clients of all different industries, like HVAC, people, small business owners, people who are in manufacturing, logistics, oil and gas, nothing to do with, the tech industry. And here they were needing to learn tech in order to continue to do business during these past 2 years. So that's just one indication of how COVID really accelerated a lot of these existing trends. And for me, I just want to be where the action is. I don't want to be, behind the pack. I want to be out there learning it, evangelizing, helping others do the same. So that's sort of the trend I see. And on a micro level too, when I came to Toronto, I'm from Australia. Originally had no tech background, knew nothing about the space. But when I got here, I kind of saw that it was this booming tech ecosystem, like a mini Silicon Valley. And I was like, all right, well, this is what's here. Like, this is where the opportunities are. And again, just took it upon myself to learn as much about it, have coffees, informational interviews, and it just got more and more exciting the more that I did that. And, it's now just something that it feels quite natural, but again, it's not like I had a background in it either. Everyone has to start somewhere.
Because am I right? Your background is creative. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah, I actually went to school for games design. So did that for a while and was a graphic designer a little bit straight out of school. So very non-conventional background for sales.
Is there any more a conventional background for sales?
That's true.
I don't know. If you're curious, but what strikes me, and I've said it, I'm just going to say it again. It's yes, you're learning, but you're also sharing. In fact, you went one over this. You said evangelizing. So it's learning and just giving it out a little bit. You'll say, hey, this stuff is so good. I am going to get on a pedestal here and start telling folk, have a look at this, because it is going to make what you do better. That's good fun, isn't it? Well, I find it quite fun.
Well, yeah. I mean, my overall life philosophy, taking a step back from sales and careers and all that, is to be of service. I've always lived by that in any aspect of my life. Even when I was just fresh into sales, I was at an agency job, just grinding it out, 200 calls a day, selling ad spots for newspapers, super old school. I mentored people. I helped new girls who were joining the agency who had no idea what they were doing, and helping them and getting them promoted and getting them successful. So that's a trait that I've just carried on throughout my entire career. And now by extension through the new tech that we're learning, it's just a natural fit there too.
And that is one of the important things that, again, I'm going to highlight. If that's your natural inclination, it's to be of service. That is why you will be so good at sales. That's where a lot of the success we can find the root in. It's amazing how often as a sales trainer, you can realize that people aren't thinking like that. And that's the bit we've got to try and help them get their heads around. When they stop being me, it's all about my stuff, all about me and my quotas, my targets, crush this, do that, the other. But how can I help people? How can I work with them? How can I make what they're doing better? Be interdependent, because their success is my success. Once we can get people thinking like that, I say we as sales trainers, and I'm including you in that, by the way. No, I mean, you are doing your own work around that. I know. The more we can do that, that's, I think, where we can genuinely do some good. Genuinely.
That's why I really like your value of interdependence in the overall PQ bucket, because that's just how we live. No one can succeed on their own. Nobody. Even if you're amazingly talented at what it is that you do, you still require the sales manager to buy in, to hire you for the job. You still need the customer to buy something from you in order for you to hit your quota and make your number, make a lot of money. Yeah. Right? Nothing is entirely within your own scope. And I think for people to realize that and break out of that bubble of narcissism, I think will only be in their own benefit. It's ironically, it's probably it's selfish to do good things for other people, because it will benefit you. Right. And I think that's the thing that some people don't realize.
No, so the PQ, the partnering skills, I mean, I do go on and on about it. core of my book. Yeah, interdependence, you know, along with trust, along with women focus, along with being transparent with people, along with being comfortable in changing, doing things differently. If you can get your head around those, both for yourself, your life, and your life partnerships, bring that into work, and again, it makes stuff so much easier, doesn't it?
It just makes you a more enjoyable person to be around, and I think that's worth it for that alone.
So, yeah, and guess what? They're the people you want to go and speak to. So, what are we saying here? To be successful, we need a bit of PQ. Of course, I'm going to say that. IQ, yeah, we're going to need some logical and sort of financial and that kind of, you know, more fundamental intelligence. EQ, because of the relationship side. And of course, we've got to say TQ, because whenever we chatted, we've naturally started to talk about TQ, haven't we? I know you're a fan. Do you become a fan of TQ? Is that a right descriptor?
Oh yeah. Well, big fan of Justin Michael.
You're a fan of the creator of TQ. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure some of your listeners may know of him, some may not. It depends on the industry, but yeah, Justin Michael coined that term. He actually just released a book as well, Tech Powered Sales, and he's been in the SaaS space for 20 plus years and has broken many records and done really well for himself, and now is trains and coaches sales reps as part of what he does. And I just really like that line, that success in sales is EQ plus IQ plus TQ, because technical quotient, of course, that's standing for that, because I think that's a very succinct way of just describing where the world is going.
Yeah, I did not just the sales world, the world is going. We've got to get our head around that. So it is certainly worth having a listen. I interviewed him a little while ago, actually, when he was still writing the book. Because I said, IQ is the whole TQ PQ conversation, as you can imagine. But no, it certainly is. So, right, crystal ball time then. Oh God, Fred, you said you wouldn't ask this. What, or not necessarily crystal ball, but what certainly is the tech that we should be keeping an eye on, because that is going to be coming in fast. And again, bear in mind, we said that some stuff has been around a long time. You're still getting early adopter from it. But what's the stuff you say? Just keep an eye on this one, because this could be a real game changer. What do you reckon?
Yeah. So I mean, look, there's no
I'm not going to tell you, Fred. You might go buy all stocks in it.
No, I'm no stock expert, but no, I think the sales, there's no shortage of tools in the sales tech stack. I think I was building my own sales tech at one point during the startup experience, and I took a look at the market and I was like, holy shit, this is there are a lot of tools out there. I think we're actually going to get into more of a consolidation period, just due to how many players there are in the space. And any at least in my industry, in any company that you evaluate for a sales role now, it used to be, is the manager good, is the culture good, is the product good, all right, I'll go work for them. But now there's actually this other selling point of what's their tech stack like, and there's a level of assessment there. It's very common now for companies to need something like an outreach, a sales engagement tool, or a Gong, of course, revenue intelligence, a Vidyard for video, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, of course. So like there's all these things now that formulate the sort of baseline criteria for assessment when it even comes to evaluating sales roles. And I think that we're going to see that in other industries too, as they start to realize that you can just be so much more efficient and effective with what your efforts through this technology. So yeah, I think those are kind of the main components that I see making up that tech stack.
It's funny, as you were going through that, I got slightly distracted. I started thinking about when I started, were we looking at the tech stack? I written down here laptop, mobile, and then a massive discussion about what sort of car you got. That was it.
Yeah,
what was
times
about
are
car,
changing.
not tools that actually help us do the job. It's like, what can make me good when I'm sort of sat parked outside? It's weird. Times are definitely changing. Yeah, so I guess what you're saying is, I think I heard there's 5,000 plus marketing tech things out there, and probably 1,500 sales. So we come to like 10,000 bits of kit that could be helping you.
Oh, yeah.
But what you're saying is look at how it's bolted together and how that is going to help you. Is it just stacked up? I think Justin talks about Frankenstack, doesn't he? Which is just like a kind of ugly built thing that doesn't really work. Or is it something that they've got the right bits applied in the right way that is going to help you do the thing that you do as a salesperson, which is get into the human to human stuff as effectively as you possibly can. Is that a fair translation?
Yeah. And I'll add to that. And the best companies are the ones that are doing it right, are the ones who have all these platforms speaking to each other and working in a seamless way, right? Like anyone can go out there and buy licenses to these platforms, but done wrong, you probably are not going to be more efficient and effective, right? It's going to bog you down. You're going to have to, do a lot of manual, tedious work on the back end, and it's just going to be a huge mess, right? And that's, largely kind of my experience when I was at the startup too, when no one had any idea of what this meant. And we've come a long way since then, and have seen how smoothly run operations actually look like, which kind of speaks to the new category of RevOps professionals coming into play. People whose sole jobs are to kind of stand up and maintain these sales tech stacks for salespeople. So
otherwise,
that's kind of how I'm seeing it.
No, that's cool. Because otherwise, you employ somebody who's ace at talking to people, but actually they spend all their time programming. It's like, well, that makes no sense.
Exactly.
But then we have these RevOps guys who are going to go, we'll get it all wired up. You do what you do well.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's as you and I know, Fred, tech is not it's not the end all be all. It should be an enabler. It should allow you to do more of the human stuff, as you mentioned, but done wrong, it's going to turn you into a robot.
So that's one tip for people who've got their head around tech is a good thing. Would another tip be, because I don't know, I get the feeling, and maybe it's because I do work in some quite traditional spaces, that people are still seeing tech as a big threat, and they want to try and pretend it's not there. They want to try and push it away, and it's like, don't talk about that. We're not going to do it. Not in my industry. We don't do that stuff. I don't know whether you've experienced that. Could be where I operate. What advice would you give to try and help people get their head around that, who perhaps do see it as a bit of a threat? Apart from the last 40 minutes, well, I've been successful because I've got my head around it. No, but how
you've got a great setup.
Yeah, well, no, so what kind of thinking can we do just to help them be a little bit more open to what is out there and what they can do?
So, I mean, this was my day every day when I was at Vidyard. Again, my audience, the customers that I was serving, were people who were from previous generations, right? People who had gotten used to being successful in selling without the use of any tech, which apart from a cell phone and a laptop.
W3
There you go. Yeah. So it was a mindset shift more than any technical type of training. Like the technical training, there was barely any technical training on my end. It was all mental, psychological, helping them get comfortable, helping them, feel okay with turning on the webcam and recording themselves and not get overly self-conscious about it or overthink it too much, right? And just make it part of their muscle memory. I guess the advice that I would give anyone is kind of this line that I say to anybody: it's lead the curve or be dragged. And what I mean by that is, you see where the world is going, right? These people who are super resistant, they see that tech is taking over and that we're all moving to a digital economy. So get ahead of it. Why wouldn't you? Or or face being left behind. It's a binary in my opinion, right? If you're getting into sales and you want to be successful and you want to be efficient with your work, so why wouldn't you? I think it's kind of just a no-brainer. There's no kind of like coaxing or anything. It's just, this is how the world is. If you're on board, then we can teach you. If you're not, then unfortunately you're probably going to be left behind.
I think we are at that stage now, and I'm starting to kind of change my own messaging to be a little bit more, but maybe dramatic, yes, saying that you will not be relevant. There won't be a place for you. You've been excellent before because this stuff didn't exist. There's a period where you might be getting away with it, but that is going so fast. It's going to be, no, it's just not good enough. So I think we're on the same page there. The way you said it's way better. I use a silly drum analogy and talk about Tommy Lee and people like that, but be the curve or be dragged is way quicker. Brilliant. How can people get in touch with you? How can they follow something see some of the stuff that I'm sure you're going to carry on putting out there? What would be the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best way to go. Rachel Shee at LinkedIn. Yeah, otherwise, email, website, we can include all that in the show notes, but most active on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn would be the no-brainer for me, because that is where you are going to be quick. Well, you are. I know you are. I see it. You're putting good stuff out there, and now you've got a new challenge to get your teeth into. There's going to be some new stuff and some new thinking. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. Definitely looking to see how you get on there. So
thank you.
No, best of luck. Certainly best of luck.
Thanks so much, Fred. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.